and very conscious that I am standing between you and freedom. But anyway, we'll move from infrastructures and structures to people. So that's what I'm going to talk to you today. Drawing from my own experience, I was Additional Chief Secretary of the Labour Department in my final year of service in 2021. So that was the second part of the COVID epidemic, and what I'm going to narrate today is how we cope with the COVID epidemic, specifically in 2021. So, to set the context, by 2021, the Department of Labour had already coped with the strains and constraints of 2020. 2020 had been a very bad year, all of you remember that. By 2021, the trickle of returning migrant workers had already started. You remember that exodus, which we all saw on our television sets, people moving away from their work sites or their temporary homes back to their villages. But by 2021, people had started returning to Bangalore, Belgaum, major developing cities. And so this is the scenario in which, when I took over sometime in March, and almost the first thing which I did was to go and meet workers. And the feedback which I got from them was, the government, took a number of relief measures. And they said, yes, thank you, you did a lot, you gave us food, you set up centers for us where we could take shelter. But what we are workers. So they said in Kannada that now ಕೆಲಸಗಾರರು ನಮಗೆ ಕೆಲಸ ಬೇಕು ಪಗಾರ ಬೇಕು. We are workers. So we want work, we want wages. So while we are thankful for this, this is what we really need. So that became actually the starting point from which we began. And I made a resolve to myself that, I should see to it that there is not a single migrant in the streets. That was, something which I promised myself, and I think we kept to that promise. Okay, basically a two-pronged strategy. And so one is policy and the second is practice. So the State Disaster Management Authority, they took one far-sighted decision in 2021. And they said that we will allow in-situ construction to happen. So we will allow that large construction sites can continue. You remember that during the lockdowns it had been stopped. So this was resumed, provided the developers or the builders took care of their workers, and the workers were housed safely within those construction premises or wherever they were housed. So that was one. That because construction is a very important part in terms of labor force. It's an industry which employs the largest labor force. So this had a lot of impact on what happens next in terms of strategy. And for other industries, there were staggered work timings, 30% were allowed to work at a time. So those kind of decisions were taken. So that was the first step towards resumption of normalcy. Even while the pandemic was still on, we were not yet out of the pandemic. Now on the one side, yes, it was a good thing because people were able to come back to work, earn a living, normalcy was gradually returning, but on the other hand, it put the onus on the department. Because when you are going to have people come back to their work sites and resume working, then who bears that onus of sanitization and vaccination? Because they are all going to be there working. So not just the young, but this old bureaucrat also had to take that onus on ourselves. So the onus on the department was much more when you take such a decision that you will start resuming work. So what did we do? One thing which we did was that we sanitized every work construction site, every colony, wherever we could get it, we went and sanitized. So this was done by the department, and we hired professionals who went and fumigated the places. We also conducted a lot of awareness programs about wearing masks, keeping distance. So that was also going on. We also took this thing that we need to take the onus of testing upon us. So we started testing the workers, and this was, by that time, testing was reasonably easier. You remember in the early days, so 2021 was, a big step forward from 2020, because we had got used to certain things by then. So testing was possible, and we started testing all the workers. We also started the process of vaccination. And in vaccination, in fact, there was, I did face an unexpected problem, that we have a state vaccination committee, which was headed by the Chief Secretary. And the Chief Secretary took the decision that, you go ahead and vaccinate the workers, but pay out of it from the funds of the department. But government had taken a general decision that vaccines were free. So it was parallel. You remember we went this up and down whether vaccines were free or not. So at that particular moment, government had already taken a decision in general for the public, vaccines were free. But for labor, they said let the department pay. For the people, for the workers it was free, but not for the department. What happened was that I faced the opposition from a very unexpected quarter, that was the trade unions. So they said that when it is free for everyone else, why should the board, we have what is called a construction board, unorganized workers board. So these are the boards which are for the welfare of the workers. So they took this objection, saying that why should the boards pay? Because it's free for everyone else. So for me it was a race against time, because we are allowing workers to work, we are allowing workers to live in their settlements. So do we get them vaccinated quickly so that they are safe, or do we wait for free vaccines so that we save money? Fortunately for us, or in answer to night prayers, all those nights which we were awake, the vaccine situation eased. So we are able to satisfy the unions, we are able to get them vaccinated over a fairly quick period of time, but free of charge, without charging the boards. Okay, definitely question of charging workers did not arise. So the kind of glitches which can arise when we actually implement, it's very interesting. Government at that time sat together and said that we will, the Chief Minister himself sat along with the Finance Secretary, my colleague, Chief Secretary and myself, and decided that we'll give relief. And in 2020, some cash relief had already been, we had made a beginning with cash relief. 5,000 rupees was given as a one-time assistance to barbers and washermen. That was the decision taken in 2020. In 2021, they decided that we will give 3,000 rupees per construction worker, one-time cash assistance, and 2,000 rupees for unorganized workers. And why that difference is that the money for construction workers came from the Construction Welfare Board, which was, well endowed financially. The unorganized workers' compensation or cash relief had to come from the government directly. So there was a difference there, but that was broadly the decision taken. And I just tried to recall the figure. 582 crores was distributed by DBT to 25 lakh construction workers, and around 240 crores to 12 lakh unorganized workers. And this was a one-time relief measure. Here also there was an interesting thing happening, that I was all for giving cash relief, money in hand. My feeling is that money in hand is, a great empowerer, so to say. It gives courage in times of distress. And no one else was for it. The DBT is direct benefits transfer through the banks, and finally government insisted that it has to be done through DBT only, because the hazards of actual cash distribution are so many. And my officers heaved a sigh of relief that somebody prevailed over me. I felt that at that time this would give a boost, but I also admit that it could have resulted in a lot of problems. But what we finally did was, through DBT we released And in one very, very rare gesture, Labour Department was the first department, in fact, to start giving relief, cash relief. And Times of India, if I recall, put this up. This was one of the rare gestures where our work was actually acknowledged, which is, quite unusual for bureaucrats. Besides this, we had the experience of distributing cooked food. If you recall, in 2020, and you would have seen on TV and newspapers people complaining that the food was of bad quality. North Indian workers would not like to eat rice. South Indians would not like to eat chapati. So food would get spoiled if it is not eaten. So we decided that we'll stop with that. And we started giving dry ration kits. And I don't know, there's one here. This is when we first launched this. But this was done all over this state. And nicely, neatly packed, with only the department or the board's name on it. And nothing, there's no photographs of politicians, no slogans, nothing. Just neatly packed, very hygienically packed boxes, cartons, small cardboard cartons, which was distributed. And when we did this, you can see that this is being announced by the Chief Minister. Then Chief Minister was Mr. Yediyurappa. He announced it and then we did this. But this was one program where I was present, but this was done all over the state. And we shared very openly and transparently. We told anyone who wanted to collaborate with us was fine. So MLAs, the small politicians, Gram Panchayats, whoever wanted to join in, they just came, they would join if they wanted an opportunity to be there and do the distribution, we said fine. We have an entity called the Karnataka State Legal Services Authority. They started off as a very stern critic of us. Then we said, you come and see what we are doing. And one or two of the members came and then they became our staunchest supporters. So you get sometimes support from unusual quarters as well. So, and most of all, this gentleman here is a trade union leader. He's very strongly affiliated to the Congress party. And at that time the ruling party was BJP. But he came to my office and he said, "Tumba ole kelsa madidira, you've done very good work." And I told him his name is Mahantesh. I said, "Mahantesh, I'm going to put this on record because you are saying this means a lot." And we actually put it on record. He said, "Yes, please put it on record. I'm saying it in front of all my people. You've really done good work." So that was something that we got some acknowledgement, especially from these unlikely quarters. I spoke of awareness creation, so we made posters, we put them up all over labor colonies. We hired auto rickshaws which would go around in the colony clusters. They would make announcements as to how to protect oneself and hygiene and all those things. There were also moments of tension. The Labour Department also controls the ESIS hospitals. And we had about 20 odd patients we had oxygen for just about a day or a little more than 24 hours left. And the incoming oxygen from some Belgaum or somewhere, it was stopped on the highway by one of the deputy commissioners. Let us not mention the district, but one district collector stopped the oxygen trucks, wanted to divert it into the district hospitals. But there was a lot of competition going around for oxygen. So I sent one of my officers to bring that truck because here we would lose the patients. We didn't want, it was a dire situation. And so you can see my officer actually accompanying the truck. And he sent me this message that come into the hospital in 30 minutes. And then I began to breathe. Until then I was holding my breath. So that was one thing which, one of those situations of tension. We're talking about the migrant crisis, but we felt that this would also be an opportunity. That it was not enough to give immediate relief, but you need to build the resilience of the community so that they can face challenges in later days. And so one of the things that we did two areas basically we addressed, health and education. And this started concurrently almost with the relief measures. As the pandemic was coming down, we began to shift from immediate relief to long-term policy measures. And one thing which we did was we launched these mobile clinics. Okay, they are small vans neatly equipped with most medical equipment and 5 personnel, which would be two nurses, 2 paramedics and a driver. And they would go to the labor colonies, and they are capable of conducting 21 tests with the equipment there. And these are still in operation. So this is one thing which we addressed, and these are still going on. And one more thing was education was the other thing which we launched, that we started giving training to the children of construction workers, okay, and other workers also, that for writing IAS examination, civil service examination, we gave medical reimbursement, we gave education. In fact, across the board for all education, we started providing assistance. Whether it was school, whether it was degrees college, and whether it was IIT, IIMs, and if any worker's child got an admission in any of the premier institutes or in a foreign university, we have enforced a policy by which their entire fees will be reimbursed, along with even the application fee. So because application fee is a big deterrent, and you can't make that upfront investment. So that was one thing which we did. So these are programs which are still going on. Though the relief measures have now come down, so the health and the education measures, which we started concurrently so that the resilience of the community is enhanced, these are still going on. So I kept it short, Prof. And so this is some